X-Men. You were the X-Men.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to House of Power, our live-action X-Men and Deadpool in review. Guys, we are here for night 13, the final night, the final movie before Deadpool 3, or Deadpool and Wolverine, I should say. My name is Kyle. Thanks for checking out Project Potter, guys. We got our Wolverine hat, we got our Deadpool shirt, guys, and tomorrow night, I'm seeing Deadpool Wolverine opening night. What we're going to do is go through my thoughts on the movie, a favorite character, a score out of 10, and we're going to rank movie 13 against the previous 12 movies. And guys, let's go. So how do we follow up one of the best superhero movies of all time with a pretty good sequel? But this one does take a step back, guys. A couple things here. Russell's character, I thought, was really fun at the beginning, and then I thought just wore out its welcome. And I think this movie, even though it has some incredible comedy and some really amazing scenes, I think it really has like a pacing issue, and it slows way down when we get into Russell and Wade gets arrested and they get thrown in the ice box. And I'm like, the pacing, which was so perfect in Deadpool 1, had some issues in this one. And, the movie starts off with his girlfriend getting shot and killed. And it's a powerful scene, but it's also weird that the guy who killed her, like, the only reason Wade gets him is because he gets in a car accident, and otherwise Wade, like, I right there, I wanted Wade to, especially with his Deadpool powers, his regenerative abilities, he jumps through the window, and I was like, oh, here we go, dude. He's gonna like be screaming at this guy, like, I'll fucking kill you, and like it's gonna be awesome because he just killed the love of his life. And instead, he just like he catches up to him and stuff. But like the guy would have gotten away if he didn't get in a car accident. That was like a little bit of like a nitpick, but it just kind of like the first time I was like, oh, but that's kind of weird. But they do the credits thing again where the opening credits or like the intro is actually like beautiful and amazing and so well done. And that's where this scene behind me comes from. Produced by What the Fuck Just Happened, screenplay by Did They Really Just Kill Her? And then the funniest line was by the guy who killed John Wick's dog. I was like, oh my god, dude. Like I said, the humor in this movie is not quite up to the snuff of the first movie, I think, in some cases, but in other cases it's so good. And for the most part, when the humor hits, it really hits, just like the first movie, guys. But I just think there are too many lulls in this movie. There are some absolutely incredible moments. I mean, the part where he gets the whole team together, and then, I mean, that sequence alone is hilarious. And they're like, "Oh, the Vanisher's here," and like, "He's not here, is he?" He's like, "Nah, he's probably running late." And then they get this guy Peter, who he keeps calling like Dan or something. And then they go out of the plane, and they all immediately die. And he's like, "Oh my god!" He's like, "Walk away!" At the end, he's like, "Walk away, walk away." But I mean, just all of the jokes, dude. I loved, absolutely loved all of the part where he's like, "I'm an X-Men trainee," and he's got like a soccer jersey on, dude, like a mesh X-Men shirt, and it's a trainee. So good, dude. And he's making fun of the X-Men, dude. The part where he gets in Charles Xavier's wheelchair and he's just spinning around. I was like, this is amazing, dude. And again, these jokes didn't hit for me the first time because I didn't know what any of the. I was like, okay, I kind of had seen Charles Xavier, but like that's his wheelchair, and it's so funny, and it's like the first prototype, and it's funny because in First Class, or not First Class, but like the following movies with James McAvoy, he had like 4 different wheelchairs, and I was even like, why is he's in another wheelchair? So for him to get like the original model and him to like kind of dust it off and take a ride in it, it was so funny to me. And he's got Cerebo, dude, and he's just sitting on the couch, and he's like, "Oh, I'm just taking a spin with Cerebo," and he's like, "That's not how Cerebo works." And I was like, "Oh my god, it's so much funnier having seen the X-Men movies, dude." And it's just great where they're going through. We get the full X-Men cameo too. He's like, "Oh, studio couldn't have sprung for something else, right?" And he's in the mansion, and then Beast goes to like close the door, and it's Beast, it's Cyclops, it's Quicksilver, it's Charles Xavier, and I mean, obviously they probably, I don't know if they used a clip from one of the movies, I doubt that they got all the actors to come back and do that one quick scene, but it's cool because you see all of them in there, and I'm like, wow, this is an amazing thing, and it's a super quick thing. He closes the door, but I just love how like they got all the X-Men in there, and obviously Deadpool makes fun of the X-Men all the time, and it just feels so connected, and it's so funny that like he talks about that, and you know, just I wish I could remember all of the jokes, guys, but the one where he goes to first meet Russell, and Russell's like, "Back off, or Justin Bieber dies," and me laughing so hard, dude. And he's like, "Oh, he just calls you Justin Bieber. That's hilarious." And that mutant, I don't know her name, or the X-Men, I don't know her name, but she's got this girlfriend Yukiko now, and it was so funny that he kept saying, "Bye, Yukiko." It's like this movie, dude, it's so funny because I have like a score in my head, but the more I talk about the jokes, and the more I'm like, man, even though this movie had some lulls, the humor really hit for me, and like a lot of them, and it really was like, man, it was like constant action of just amazing stuff, and even like the cab driver where he's like, hey, you know, you got to chase your dreams. And he's like, I want to be a contract killer. And he's like, whoa, whoa. He's like, that's not what I meant. He's like, no, I would love to do that for you. And he's like, no, you need courage. And the baby leg scene, dude, was like a little, it went on a little too long, but man, shout out to JT Miller. Is it JT Miller? TJ Miller? Now I'm forgetting his name. The guy from Silicon Valley, Eric Bachman, dude, his jokes, his line delivery was so good in this, where he's like, "Yeah, you look like a Muppet, except if you could see a Muppet's dick." It's like, no, like, oh, he's doing it again, and he's like, they grow back, and you know, he just opens up the cable, and he's like, oh, he's doing it, and I mean, when he's sitting next to the black lady. And she's like, "Why is your hand so small again?" He's like, "That's not my hand." And she's like, "Oh my God." And he's like, "That was nice for me." It's Oh, it's just so good, dude. And I just love how he like goes in and gets a secret cocaine stash at the beginning, and he's like, "Oh, I'm so sad." And you feel it, but he like is making light of it. I mean, when he goes to quote unquote die at the end, he's like, "Oh, it's you know, it's just so hard to go." And he just goes on this monologue after monologue after monologue, and you know, then we find out that like Cable actually went back in time and stopped him from taking him down. So there's just a lot to love in this movie, guys. And even though it is a step down from the first movie, I still really enjoyed my time with it. And I think it's still like absolute elite level comedy. Guys, our favorite character, once again, Pool dead. I mean, it seems boring to pick Deadpool as the favorite character for Deadpool in 1 and 2, but he's the star of the show, and Ryan Reynolds makes this franchise work, and he's so good with it. Like this movie is so funny because of his humor, and obviously the writing team killed it, and they are giving him the lines to. But it's his delivery that makes it so good. And again, Ryan Reynolds, iconic. This is making me so excited for what Deadpool 3 is going to do, to make fun of not only the MCU. So they were just making fun of X-Men before. Now he's probably going to make fun of the MCU. I think the TVA is going to be involved, so he's probably going to make fun of them. We might see, oh my God, if we see a Tom Hiddleston cameo, dude, I'm going to lose my mind. But he now has two universes to make fun of. He's now going to make fun of the MCU, and he's going to make fun of the X-Men universe. And guys, I didn't even mention this. Dude, the movie opens up with spoiling the end of Logan, with Logan impaled on the branch, and it says Logan on there, and he hits it and it spins around, and then he says, "Oh man, Wolverine." He's like, "You dick, you just had to die, didn't you?" He's like, "You up the ante." He's like, "Now I gotta die." And it's just so funny because this came out, I think, a year after Logan, so they just try to spoil the ending of Logan in the beginning of this movie, and I thought that was so funny that he just directly references Wolverine, and they obviously had to get some sort of clearance for that. But I just think that was fantastic. But Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, Cool Dead, man, crushes it again, and he's the best character in this one, of course. All right, guys, that brings us to the score. This is an 8.9. I think this is a step off from the first, or drop off from the first movie, but the jokes are still so good. The only reason I kind of hold this movie back is because there wasn't really a good villain. I actually liked Josh Brolin's performance as Cable. I don't think he had too much to do. His like, I gotta save my daughter theory was kind of weak, and though he does reverse time at the end to save Deadpool, and then he's gonna hang out, I guess. So maybe we'll see him in Deadpool 3. and he basically was just like playing Thanos, basically like a less menacing version of Thanos. But there wasn't really a threat or an enemy, and the enemy was like this guy who like ran the orphanage or whatever that Russell was at, but they focused a lot on Russell, and I like I said, I liked his character, and then it got really annoying at the end where I was like, oh, he's trying to be like something else. Like he's they're trying to really force this Russell character down, and I'm like, I'm not really feeling it, and I think there is a pacing issue, like I said, guys, and there is a lull. And I love Zazie Beetz. Let me be clear, guys. That's my girl right there. That's Zazie Beetz is my woman. That's my girl. I love her in Atlanta. Her performance, her being the lucky character, I thought was fun. Also, I didn't mention any times, guys, where Deadpool looks at the camera and he's like, "Well, that's lazy writing," and he's like, "Oh, I only have one charge to get home," and he's like, "Lazy writing," and she's like, "Oh, let's try the code for the back," and she's like, "How about 7?" And he's like, "7?" He's like, "It's not going to be one digit," and he goes, "Oh my god, so lazy," and that stuff is so great. It's fourth wall breaking, but I just think that even though I had a great time with this, there were pacing issues and there were problems I had, and there wasn't like a big threat. And Juggernaut was like the big reveal, I guess, but I didn't really think that he was like a threat. Obviously, I wish they would have gotten like Logan or something. I just thought that this one was lacking a bit of the polish from the first one, but the writing was still just so good that anytime there was like a lull, I was like, okay. And there were still usually a couple good jokes in there, but then it was just like joke after joke after joke, and I was like, oh, dude. Even though I'm not having as much fun for this one, it's still so good, and so that's why it's still getting a high score, just not quite the like all-time classic score that is Deadpool 1. So, guys, that brings us to our rankings, the final rankings before Deadpool and Wolverine, guys. So, number 1, the original Deadpool, 9.8. Number 2, X-Men Days of Future Past at 9.5. Number 3, X-Men The Last Stand at a 9.4. Number 4, Logan at a 9.1. And this one's going to slot in at the new number 5, guys. Number 6, we have the original X-Men at 8.1. Number 7, we have The Wolverine at 7.1. Number 8, we have the New Mutants at a 6.9. Number 9, we have X2 X-Men United at a 6.6. Number 10, we have X-Men First Class at a 6.2. Number 11, X-Men Apocalypse at a 5.4. Number 12, X-Men Origins Wolverine at 5.2. Also, sorry, let me finish the rankings first. And number 13, guys, X-Men Dark Phoenix at a 5.1. But also, how funny is it that he goes back at the end and he's using the time turner thing? And he goes back to X-Men Origins Wolverine when Wade Wilson shows up with his face shut, and they replay the scene where Wolverine draws the claws and he's standing in the hallway and he just shoots him. And then he comes down, he's like, "Oh, sorry, just clean up the timeline," and then shoots him like 4 more times. And then he goes and sees the Green Lantern script and shoots Ryan Reynolds at the desk, and he's like, "You're welcome, Canada." And it's just like, man, and I think Ryan Reynolds is from Canada, so he makes the Canada jokes, and there were jokes against Canada in the first one. And he's like, "How dare you?" And it's a great humor, dude. But those were our rankings shape up through 13 movies. All right, guys, that's 13 episodes in for House of Power, guys. Only one remains, and then there was one, Deadpool and Wolverine. I'll be there tomorrow night, guys. These reviews obviously will be going up later, so I think it's like maybe a week or so after. I forget, but these will all be recorded and edited, uploaded, and I'm releasing these daily, guys. But Deadpool Wolverine will go up after opening weekend, a few days at least after, so you guys get to see that. I might do like a spoiler-free section in the very beginning in case people want to go on to the beginning of that video, or maybe I'll clip it out. But then it's going to be full spoilers, and God, I'm so excited. This is the most excited I've been for an MCU movie since No Way Home, and outside of that, really since like Endgame, because not only are there maybe going to be scenes from Endgame in here, they have so much power, especially with Deadpool, where they can just go anywhere. Knowing Wolverine's in it, knowing he's in the yellow suit, knowing Deadpool's in it, knowing they can kind of go nuts with it, and it's getting good reviews already, and good critic reviews is important, because sometimes some of the MCU movies get lower critic reviews, but then the audience score is high. But this is going to be an event film. It's going to be a banger. I cannot wait, dude. And there could be the best part about this movie is that there could be some just absolutely insane stuff, like all time MCU moments that are going to happen, and I cannot wait. So, especially with the TVA involved and stuff, and the portal, we saw them jumping through one portal already. They could get nuts with it. They're probably going to make fun of it at least a little bit. Cannot wait, guys. That review will be coming up, but one more episode House of Power to go. Appreciate you guys stopping by. Go check out the other content. Until next time, guys. Kiss me like you mean it, Red.